She's ready to spawn. She's like, come on, dude, come on, come on. Hey guys, Taylor here from Simply Betta. Lately, I've been doing a whole lot of aquascape projects and not a whole lot of betta fish breeding projects. Why? Taylor, isn't that supposed to be what your channel is about? You are focused around betta fish and betta fish breeding projects. Spawning them, raising them, caring for them, making projects centered around them, right? Yes, it is. Yes. Earlier in the year, I had to move. I had to cancel all my projects. I had to rip up my old fish room. I had to pack my family. I had to move my family. I had to build a new fish room from nothing. And it was a lot, especially with 2 little kids. It was so much work, and it took me so long. It was just painfully slow. I told myself when we moved that I would not be breeding any more fish until I had an automatic water change system set up, until I had the infrastructure in my fish room to take that load off of my shoulders of having to manually water change tanks like I've done forever. It's still not finished. There's gonna be a video coming up shortly about why I fired my plumber and me trying to finish it on my own. But sometimes I tell myself not to do things like, hey Taylor, don't breed any fish until you have an automatic water change system set up. And then I just do it anyways, like spawning my favorite fish in the whole world, the Tancho Betta fish. Tanchos. What is a Tancho Betta? It's just a color pattern. It's a clean-bodied fish with a single red dot on its head. It's not the flashiest fish that exists. It's not the most colorful. It's not the most vibrant. But for some reason, that's just like my favorite little color pattern that I really, really love. They're named after Tancho koi, which are lovely. I have a dream, which is very unrealistic, of being able to have a genetic line of Tancho Bettas. Why is that unrealistic? It's because it's not really a trait that you can select for. It's not really something that's easy to breed for. Tanchos pop up sometimes in spawns, like marble spawns or koi spawns, but you can think of it as something that's very hard to control and very random. The marble or the koi trait just on its own is hard enough to control with selective breeding, much less selecting for specific color patterns. Like spawning a koi with a koi doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get many koi offspring, much less ones with the exact pattern that you want. Let's say you have a fish that's a Tancho, beautiful Tancho, and then you spawn it with another fish that's a Tancho. This doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get any Tancho in the spawn. In fact, the probability for it is really, really low. But just because something is difficult, it doesn't mean it's impossible, right? So, of course, I did it. I had 2 beautiful Tanchos that I loved oh so much, and I just decided to break my rule and to spawn them and to raise a little spawn of babies because I was feeling a little lonely out here in this fish room that doesn't have any spawns growing out in it. My goal is to try line breeding, specifically selecting for a Tancho marking, if I can get it, and just see what happens. It'll be an experiment. Like what's gonna happen in the first generation or the second or the third or whatever. If I get some Tancho offspring out of it, it's a success. And if it's a failure, I might as well document the failure like with percentages and charts and stuff. Let's set up a betta fish spawning tank. I already filled it with a couple inches of water. Now, quick note, I have very hard alkaline water. I cut it. I do half tap water and then half RO water, which is reverse osmosis water, and that's going to just make the water a lot softer. If I don't do that step, my little tiny betta fish eggs just don't develop. So keep that in mind. I have a little sponge filter in the corner bubbling very, very gently. I like throwing some fake plants in there to give the female plenty of cover if she wants to go hide. I like to put them over by the sponge filter to give the female just a nice hiding corner. Next, I'll put in a couple of nice spaces that the male can use for bubble nest sites. I'll put some pieces of bubble wrap in a few of the corners, and I'll put them bubbly side down. So there's plenty of places for all the air bubbles to catch underneath. I will tape them into place to prevent them from floating around everywhere, just with a little piece of painter's tape on the inside. I'll stick the tape onto the plastic like so, And then I'll put another option for him in the front corner. I'll take an Indian almond leaf and I'll balance it on top of the bubble wrap just to give the male a nice little secure hidey place. Plus Indian almond leaves are just so good for betta fish. And the bubble wrap makes it so it doesn't sink eventually, it just stays up. I'll also add a couple live plants. I like to throw some floaters in there. This is frog bit, which I usually have for sale on my website. I feel like live plants make fish more comfortable, but they'll also bring in a lot of little microorganisms that are living on the plant. Microorganisms are good because that's what the fry need to eat. Why not give them a little boost? That is looking like a great little spawning tank. I'm also gonna check the temperature. It is 76 Fahrenheit. I want to get it a little bit warmer, so I'll go grab a heater. So Aquarium Co-op now has an adjustable heater, which is pretty cool. Let's give it a try. I added my heater in. I set it to about 84 Fahrenheit. The tank is pretty much ready. I like to put my male in first. I like to get him all comfortable in his new tank and feeling good. And then I worry about adding the female later. There he is. He's in that little cup floating just to make sure the temperature's equalized. I always do that. There you go, pal. Make me lots of babies, please, dude. I like to make sure that my fish have some privacy when they're spawning and when the males are taking care of their eggs. And I'll put paper on the front after I've released the female and I've hopefully snuck in some footage. I think it's about time. Here's my female Tancho. She is in a jar right now. I'm gonna set her into the water sort of near where the nesting site should be. And this should prompt the male to build a nest. And I'm gonna be watching them. And if the male's building a nest, if I'm seeing good signs that breeding activity is ready to happen and she looks like she's ready to spawn, then I'll release her. So there's the female in her cup. There's the male dancing around. This is a good sign. The male's dancing around. He's trying to show off. He's going to where the bubble nest site should be. And I think he's gonna make a bubble nest for me really, really quickly. The female, you can see she doesn't seem scared. She's not trying to escape. She's not showing signs of aggression, like she wants to kill the male. That's a very bad sign. Instead, she's looking at the male. She's trying to get to him. She's flaring a little bit. This is good breeding signs. You can also see through her colorless body that she is full of eggs. Doesn't hurt. She just wants to get to him. It's normal for the male to bite and peck at the female during these stages in his little show-off dancey stage. Okay, it's been a little while. Let's see what's behind the paper. And I see a very lovely bubble nest being built right down there. Great. I think it's time. I'm just gonna set the camera down. I'm just kind of being quiet. So when I release the female, there's probably going to be a lot of dancing and chasing and showing off and pecking, which is why I was sure to put in some cover for the female to hide if she had to. So, there we go. So he's immediately going to go into show-off mode. She's receptive, she's flaring back, she's interested. This is what they do for a little while, and hopefully they'll spawn. Let's spawn. You see how he chases and dances, and then he's gonna go back and tend to his bubble nest every now and then. Once he's kind of satisfied, he's danced enough. I'm trying to get some good footage, but I also, I don't want to disturb them too much. I will give them their privacy. Notice how the female's flaring back, but she's not trying to murder him. That's a good sign. She's ready to spawn. She's like, come on, dude, come on. Come on. I peeked in after work the next day and they had spawned. I could see eggs in the nest. The female, I could tell she wasn't very eggy anymore, and the male kept trying to chase her away. So I scooped her out. I have resisted peeking into this for 3 whole days, and it's been really, really hard. I honestly believe, though, that giving the male peace and quiet like this can really help when it comes to egg eaters. Do you see anything? I think I see fry in there. They're starting to be free swimming. I'm gonna remove the male. Please be a good daddy. I've had a long string of bad luck males who eat all of their babies. So what are you? I think that this male is a very good daddy. Day 3. I'm not gonna go into the specifics of raising betta fish fry in this video because I just feel like it would make the video way too long. Lots of little live foods later and lots of little water changes later. Yes, I do water change my fry when they're tiny. I'm just really, really careful about it. I use an air line to just really carefully siphon out gunk from the bottom. And then I like to drip aged clean water back in. And this is my little method that I can delicately baby my little babies and I won't hurt them. I'm back to present time and here is one tank that has some babies in it. And here's another one, it's a little bigger. Usually as I have a spawn growing out, I'll separate the fish. I'll put like the largest 2/3 into a large grow out tank and then the kind of the runty ones into a separate grow out tank. And this way the little ones just have some time to catch up and I feed them a little more and I baby them a little bit more until they catch up with their big ones. These fish are still pretty young, they're still fairly small, but I have some males who are starting to get nasty. They're chasing, they're nipping, they're tearing up the fins of the other males, and it's time to do something about it. It's time to remove some males and get them jarred. What does jarring a betta fish mean? It means separating them out from their spawn mates, putting them in a container where the nasty, vicious little things can grow out in a little safe place and not rip up all the other fish. In the jar is where they finish growing out until they're either big enough to rehome or sell or use in another breeding project. It's a pain to do and it's labor intensive, but it works very well. Join me as I try to scoop out my biggest males that are causing all the problems and get them jarred. Here's a troublemaker. That's right, I'm on to you. I removed 6 males. There's still a couple of kind of shrimpy ones in there that I'll leave. Now the shrimpier ones will grow a little faster too. Go on to the next one. They're larger, so it's easier to tell. One thing about my fry tanks is I don't really care how beautiful they are most of the time. I let algae go nuts. I have a bunch of snails in the bottom that help eat all the uneaten fry crumble. Fry crumble's really messy, so having a small army of snails is really beneficial. I went to go grab my jars and I had not cleaned them from the last time they had fish in them. So I had to spend some time bleaching my jars. I usually do that before I put new fish in. I just bleach it because there's usually like algae, crust, and hard water stains, and I just clean it up really nicely and then I use it. Bleaching your containers is fine. Just rinse it out, let it air dry, and then maybe rinse it one more time just for good measure. And then you'll have a nice clean jar to use. Now this pile of containers down here is ready to be filled with water. When I do water changes for jarred fish, I use this bucket. It's just a garbage can, and I fill it up with water, I age my water. I have a water pump in my bucket, and so it's really easy to do it like this. Now I'm just setting the fish I jarred in here to make sure that their temperatures are acclimated. I'm sure they are, but it's better safe than sorry. Here it is, although I do think it's a little lackluster because I don't have any lights illuminating my fish except for on those 3 tanks up there. But one of the benefits of having a garage full of miscellaneous pieces of equipment, I have some extra lights, I have some automotive 2-sided adhesive. So my plan is to put a couple pieces of 2-sided tape onto this and then stick it to the top. The tape's on, I'm just gonna stick it up here to the top. Let's see how that worked. That's nice. Much better. Now it's looking better. Now I can see my fish very nicely. There's just a couple more things left to do. I'm gonna give all my fish some Indian almond leaves. I like to cut it up into little strips and put it in there and let those tannins just start soaking into the water. The fish love it, it's good for them. By the way, shameless plug, I sell these nice big packs of Indian almond leaves on my website, simplybetta.com, if you want some. There are plenty of other botanicals you can use besides Indian almond leaves, like oak leaves or various barks, or a lot of terrarium supplies work. I just like Indian almond leaves because they're big and they're clean and they're kind of awesome. A lot of times I use blackwater extract. If I don't feel like making a tea out of Indian almond leaves or sitting there and just letting the leaves soak forever because I just want it done immediately because I like instant gratification, I'll use blackwater extract. And usually I'll add it to my water changing bucket. But in this instance, where this is just kind of their first time out of the tank, I don't do that. The last thing that I'll do is add some cards between all of the jars. Fish can just relax now. They're not going to be able to see each other. They'll develop a sense of territory, and I'll be able to train them to flare at each other. I now have a whole lot of fish to take care of for a while until they grow out. Hopefully I'll start seeing some colors or some patterns develop as these fish grow. I'll also be keeping my eye out for more males popping up out of my spawns to separate. And hopefully within a few months I'll have some good contenders to bring to the next generation. Most betta fish breeders do this jarred grow out system. There's no getting around it. And you shouldn't envy us because it's a lot of maintenance and it's a lot of water changes. It's a lot of work, but it'll be worth it if I get some good fish out of it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope it was interesting to see what I've been doing. My first little fish spawn in a long time, and it feels really nice to be getting back into the groove of things. Very shortly, I'm gonna have a video with an update on my automatic water change system, which will allow me to spawn even more fish, which is exactly what I need, for real. It's exactly what I need. Thanks so much to my really wonderful patrons on Patreon. Love you guys. Throwing $1 or $2 at me every single month. It helps me pay for supplies and equipment, so thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Also, if you're looking for Indian almond leaves or a couple other little miscellaneous things, I have them on my website, simplybetta.com. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.